Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast with Geboss and Akainu Fanboy. I hope you're all having a great Friday, and we're going to be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1032. So we're going to start it off with Marco and Izo. We haven't seen them in a while. And so, Gboss, what's your first take on this?
Um, I don't really know what Oda plans to do with these two, because Marco's already spent, and Izo's pretty powerful, but I don't know what he can do, really, at this point. It looks like they're going after the flame spirit, but I thought that Oda was setting up Usopp to do that, so I'm not sure where he's going with that, because later on in the chapter, Oda just likes to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And it's an interesting transition for sure, and a nice way to update everything. And you got Big Meme just chilling over there with her wide eyes. Kind of looks like a type of berserker mode ready to go. So we get like a brief little update right there. And we see the fire spreading there as well. And then we get the nice Appu, Drake, Yamato chase scene going too, where Appu's begging for friends and he's not getting any. So,
does he really deserve them though?
No. I mean, maybe him and Big News would be tight, but we can touch on that later. But
yeah.
And then you get the memorable Fuga, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting Fuga to like chase after Yamato because Kaido wanted to like he's under Kaido's orders. I didn't think like they would be friends or something.
Was this the same number that made a weird expression when Yamato walked in, I think? So it is interesting. I know the theory is that's one of the samurai she was imprisoned with, but we'll have to see. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just a number she's chill with. You know, maybe the community's reading too much into it, but it's definitely a viable theory at this point in time.
Well, I'm not sure about that because I was reading about the numbers, because I had completely forgotten they were like failed ancient giant experiments done by Vegapunk. But if you look at the I think it was in one of the Vivre cards, the other one that Yamato took out when I think it was Frankie who was fighting that number, I think Oda listed in the Vivre card the age is like 188.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So I don't really know if the samurai theory holds any weight with that now.
Okay, no, that's a good point. I didn't know about that. So, yeah, maybe they're just friends or something. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Yamato was friends with some of the numbers. You know, she's been around there long enough, and she's strong and has a kind heart and everything. So, and then Fuga provides a great cushion too. Again, another kind of cool, quirky transition. Slash update where all the other characters are at, and we get the goated CP0 coming in.
Yeah, I'm glad that CP0 is getting involved in all of this.
Totally. And I guess Oda's kind of applying their two Robin and sorry, that was weird. Anyways, but when it comes to CP0, I guess it's kind of implying that Robin and Brook are not strong enough to take them because they're consistently running, and also all the musketeers, all the minks, just obviously they got wiped out in like no time, basically. Heavily implied off screen. Hope they show that in the anime. That'd be pretty cool too. But they're menacing. They're just in synchronization. They're focused, and even when that fire hits them, they just rebound immediately.
Yeah,
and which is cool.
Yeah, they Robin's actually, I think she's pretty injured here, so, but I don't think they're on par. Like her and I don't think they could take these two agents. But yeah, they tanked the whole fire spirit. So Oda's doing a lot of ticking clocks, because now you got the island flying toward the capital, the fire spirit. You got the flame clouds almost dissipating. So he's definitely building up the stakes with Onigashima, because especially now that the fire spirit's going toward the armory.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and we still have the fire that Orochi set too.
Mhm.
So it's definitely getting more and more chaotic. It was funny how you and I thought Wano was going to end by the end of the year. That's not going to happen, obviously. And I mean, yeah, just even the more and more floors. Like I like the reminders. It's cool of where it is. You know, I like the detail, but it's just so crazy to think what's going on with a lot of this stuff too. And I guess it's kind of cool to see Yamato, but again, I want to keep it brief because I want to give more screen time to all the other cool stuff, which is CP0 and Supernova agents. So I do like how they just kind of moved out of these flames, and then Apu's a certified photographer, which is great. And they need to add that to his Vira card, you know?
Yeah, Apu's just out for himself. I mean, he just does whatever will benefit him the most. It doesn't matter who he allies with or anything.
And he's kind of stupid. Like, okay, you're taking pictures of the people you shouldn't take pictures of most in the world, probably, and you call them lapdogs.
True.
And then he's like, oh yeah, and I'm gonna like publish this to a newspaper and expose you guys. Which it replies, you should have kept your mouth shut. And I was genuinely like gasping when I saw that panel. I was like, oh my gosh, that's something I kind of expect from like a Hunter x Hunter type of just boom.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like genuinely shocked, and I loved it too. It just because I was like really afraid Oda was gonna give the Anbu Black Ops from Naruto like the treatment to CP0, but it seems he's not doing that. He's actually giving them respect right now.
Yeah, because they're going up against both Drake and Apu, which we didn't predict at all. I thought that they were going to fight the Straw Hats, or at least the taller of the one with the mask CP0 agent would fight Brook.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. For the record, I did make one prediction. I think a couple chapters ago that Drake was gonna run into them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the previous one or the second one, but I didn't think at all Apu would be fighting them. But it is cool how you have one long arm fighting another long arm, and
Oh yeah, that's true.
but there's still the question though, where's the third CP0 agent? Because he's not here.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because you think Robin would be priority one. You'd send all your big guns after him. So he must be doing something important too. And I do kind of like this though. You kind of have these covert ops fighting each other. And I'm under the presumption this fight won't be resolved. Like neither side's going to be KO'd because we don't have time for it. And I think CP0 has to go to relay this information so they can't be KO'd. And also, Drake, I think, has more of a story beyond this point. And Apu, maybe he could get KO'd. I don't really care. But yeah.
No love for Apu.
I actually love his character, but it's like, dude, you've taken enough damage already. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. So, what do you think about CP0 knowing about Drake being allied with Sword and like kind of not caring about that?
I mean, they want to kill him, so I like it in that sense. Like they want to. Yeah, I mean, I think like it makes sense because they know so much and they want to pick out any competition. Like it's kind of like a Call of Duty Black Ops. If you play that game where you just have like covert Americans or Russians killing each other, but there's like no real world implications if they were to kill each other because none of them are supposed to be there technically, you know?
But I mean,
so
they're kind of on the same side. They're on the side of the world government.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the CP0's reason would be for going after Drake.
They described them as rivals though. Like what was that episode where Drake's talking to Kobe and he's saying Cypher pulls here, and they're like, oh no, that's a disaster. So they're kind of like rival organizations. Like, we don't know Sword's mission, but it is probably designed to stop the worst impulses of the government, basically, which is Cypherpol. That's like the worst part of the government. So they probably are like, okay, no, you're not going to get in our way, in a way. Or like, in a sense, like they could kill Drake because he's a competitor, right? And he's technically a pirate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, cool, we could just wipe this guy out, you know? And also, they're killing another supernova on paper as well.
True. But I kind of do want to have a little bit more of this fight so we can see what kind of crazy thing Oda will do with Drake's dinosaur form, because Oda's just going crazy with all his dinosaur ideas, like with Sasaki and his helicopter Triceratops, and Queen with the snake mode where he just launches out of his body, and going on to Zoro versus King in this chapter.
Yes.
Yeah. I did not know what to make of this this first sequence with King's attack, where he just pulls back his head and makes that face.
Yeah, I really wish I learned this information when in elementary school about dinosaurs, how they hunted that way.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's kind of disappointing of my education growing up. And I think, actually, it's funny because Oda didn't do this for Jack, like F in the chat. He didn't have like a gaggy power because
True.
He kind of got a bad treatment. Poor guy.
He deserves the most respect out of all of them.
Jack the drag down.
Yeah.
Just one thing I did want to like briefly touch on though with the Drake and Apu thing though, I think there's a potential. I think we talked about this off screen one time, where we were basically saying that the guy Apu's fighting from CP0 with the long arms. There's that theory that he is one of the orphans from Big Mom's orphanage, and that got picked up by Mother Caramel. So that's a potential, and I believe the other CP0, that agent that's missing in this chapter, people have linked him to as being another orphan too. So I can see them fighting and getting near, and I think they are getting closer and closer to Big Mom actually in proximity, where they run into Big Mom. Big Mom like just punches the long arm one, and the mask comes off, and she realizes that's the friend she grew up with, and that weakens Big Mom. And then Blonde Kid have more of an advantage of taking her down, basically, because she's going to be in that weakened form, like with Mother Caramel's picture breaking. Anything from her past just traumatizes her. So it's interesting how they're getting closer and closer together. Like I said, because they showed Big Mom at the beginning of the chapter too. So that's just kind of a theory I wanted to throw out there. These fights don't really seem to be fights for the sake of fights, but for like getting everybody closer together.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Big Mom's on the live floor, and they're in some sort of basement based on the layout here. So, I mean, it could go all the way up there, but yeah, I find it also interesting. I'm glad that you brought this back a little bit. The Fire Spirit completely separated Brooke and Robin from the CP0 agents, and they're on the side that Yamato's going toward. So there's the theory that down in the armory is Kaido's poneglyph. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, so they could be directed down with Yamato down there, and they find the poneglyph in all this chaos.
Yeah, and then Brooke could take another rubbing, hide it in his body, and then Robin can look at it later. Too.
Yeah, and maybe Brooke can help with the spirit too, since he has ice powers.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah,
and it's a spirit, and he's sulking.
Yeah, definitely.
And technically, it's a drawing. Well. Technically, it's a drawing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a good thing. It would give Brooke some time to shine.
Yeah.
as well.
And
And yeah, it just kind of seems like this whole chapter is just moving people to places, really.
Mhm.
And I just don't think we have enough time to, like, for example, the result of the CP0 fight. It feels like they're getting pushed somewhere else because everybody's like, oh, okay, cool. Robin's going to be fighting them, or someone's going to protect Robin, and there's going to be this big story. She might get kidnapped, and then that didn't happen. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, you're fighting these supernova. It's like, okay.
Mhm.
It's like, what are you doing right now? You're just switching up all the pieces on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of movement in this first half of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
With the pieces are being arranged on the chess table differently.
So we'll see. Like I said, I'm glad CP0 is getting the respect that they are getting right now. It's pretty impressive that they're fighting supernovas equally. You know, that's not a small feat. So
Yeah.
when you think of all the things the supernova's been doing. So yeah, and then we get with going back to the King Zoro thing. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to be like kind of funny with how like Zoro was saying, oh, I guess pterodons flew with fire on their back too. No.
Yeah, and I guess that's King's gag, is his attack. I guess, you know how every One Piece character has a gag, and I guess it's just that panel right there.
Yeah,
and
I think this is the chapter where King spoke the most. Also,
I know for sure.
He seems a lot more chatty with this, but with people were kind of downplaying King when Zoro was first matched up with him because Zoro had fought against Kaido, and they thought it was a downgrade that fighting King. But I mean, he's getting pushed around a lot. I mean, he is injured from his fight with Kaido, but he's getting whooped more than Sanji has been. With,
That's
with
again,
Queen.
this is part of the reason. Yeah, and this is part of the reason I hate the pill, because it's kind of hard to be like. So Zoro gets roughed up. Oh, it's because of his previous fight, but then it's like, okay, well, I thought the pill put him at full health, where he doesn't feel any pain basically anymore. You know, so we just don't know, kind of like whatever the biology or the medication behind this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just I never liked the pill. I've kind of like said that a lot, and but it is like he's doing all these high caliber attacks in his arsenal, and it's not really doing anything to King. Basically.
Yeah, because he did the I think that's the Black Rope Dragon Twister, and like that move cut Kaido, but now like King's just blocking it with his wings.
Yeah, and maybe I think you could kind of see it like King's completely serious, and maybe Kaido wasn't as serious. You know, he just kind of takes it for the lulz or whatever. And it is an interesting contrast. I think this Zoro versus King versus Sanji versus Queen, like you said, Sanji's having a way easier time with his opponent. It's like I don't think Queen's really even hurt him at all, to be honest. And Sanji never had to put on the raid suit, and he's getting some good hits on Queen. And Queen's already in his hybrid form. King's not in his hybrid form.
Yeah, I mean, when he was in his hybrid form, he knocked Zoro off Onigashima.
Yeah, so he's not like doing terrific right now in the fight, and I think it's kind of obviously he had some wounds before King hits him with his attack here too, so he has been getting hurt off screen, and I think there's kind of an interesting contrast in the sense where Sanji's power up, he destroyed it. And that's like linked intrinsically to his character, why he would destroy that. So I kind of get why. I'm not saying, oh, boo Zoro, he's not going to destroy his power up because he has no reason to do it. But it is an interesting contrast in that respect, where it looks like Zoro's power up, it's going to make him win this fight basically, while Sanji destroyed his power up, and that's what's going to make him win his fight against Queen because it pissed him off so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Speaking of power-ups, like when Zoro's on the ground Enma starts acting up. So, what do you think that's about? Do you think that he's weakened to the point where he can't resist Enma drawing the hockey, or does it have to do with the shamisen playing?
I think part of it is like Zoro's like, he says like I can't win, so he's desperate for help, and I guess whatever's in that sword's giving him the help he needs to win, basically. And I know it's like predicated on whether he knows what the thing is. So I think that's a weird, the sword acts up right after he says that too. And this is kind of where I'm hoping. I know this is kind of a long shot. I know Zoro and Sanji got separated, but they kind of come back because obviously King's identity is directly linked to Sanji too at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting somehow, some way they move together, and somehow that's where they find out King's true identity, and then Sanji learns more about himself in the process. And I think there's still the chance where King has the same eyebrows, for example, as Sanji. So I think that's a real possibility. So, and I know, again, long shot, I know they're separated, but, if everybody else is getting moved around and Onigashima's falling apart, then I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that
that's
they meet
true.
each other again.
Yeah, because, I mean, Sanji and Queen have been all over the place, running after each other. But I don't know what to make of Zoro saying he doesn't think he can win unless he knows what King is. If that means anything in particular, like that's never been really an issue in previous things where he has to know something about someone. I mean, unless it's like he understood about like Mr. One having his whole body be blades.
Yeah.
But knowing someone's race hasn't really come up in like tactical fighting, unless it's like a fishman like Hachi had like the 6 swords, but that didn't really. Zoro just kind of pushed through that.
Yeah, so I think they made an emphasis on King's race. He's the only one left, and maybe there's special race power that makes his attacks like worthless, basically, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because Sanji has a similar DNA as King, and most of Zoro's attacks are worthless against Sanji. But anyways, it is. I think that's where we're gonna find out, basically, because they brought up the flames too in this chapter, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, is the flames are preventing him cut, and I guess Kinemon's technique isn't really doing much either. So because Zoro's tried everything and it hasn't done it at all, and I mean that's part of the reason why I think Zoro and Sanji, they might reunite again, because Zoro is just not doing well against an aerial opponent. He can't do well against one. So that's why I kind of think Sanji may come back into play here. So we'll see. I think there's a high chance that. I mean, how many more chapters do you think for the conclusion of Zoro or Sanji's fight? I'm glad it's more than like 2 or 3. What people thought, it's looking more like 4, 5, 6 at this point.
Yeah, definitely next year, unless they focus.
Oh, really?
Well, unless they focus all the chapters this year in finishing Zoro and Sanji's stuff. Because I think we only have, after this, maybe 3 chapters left. Because there's 2 breaks toward the end of the year.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. It looks like they're getting towards their conclusion, though, because if Zoro's activating Enma, he's probably going to go all out. Sanji got his power up, destroyed his raid suit, and he already used Hell's Memories. So it looks like we're getting closer. I'm just curious to see if they reunite again. Yeah, it is interesting how Sanji was kind of absent during this time. I know, like, maybe Oda will continue to keep that contrast going where Sanji destroys his power up and Zoro needs his power up. But I think there's also the possibility that either Enma breaks. I know that it's controversial, or he gives back Enma to kind of match Sanji.
Hmm.
Where they didn't need those power ups to get to that place. They were only temporary for this arc, and they're gonna grow beyond it.
Hmm.
But I know like Zoro's swords is a lot different than Sanji's raid suit, and I don't know. I'm still in that small group that I think Odin's hockey is an Enma, because it just seems to be sentient at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I'm with you. I think that Odin's hockey is in there, but I know people have been talking about like the Sandai Kitetsu getting destroyed because there's the Nidai Kitetsu, which is arguably stronger than it's on Wano, but but with what happens at the end of this episode, at the end of this chapter, Odin's other sword might be on Onigashima.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, we might see this here, because it is interesting how Komurasaki is there. I know there's a lot of theories that might be her mom, or it might be. I think there's a good chance that it's a fake out, to be perfectly frank, or maybe it's a trap for him to get in there and Dendro takes him out, basically.
Well, the way that
was kind of a thing.
It's interesting that it's the shamisen, because the shamisen has always been played at the end of the acts of Wano.
Good point. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. We could be going to Act 4. Maybe we kind of.
Oh, that'd be great.
We kind of ruled out that there was going to be another act of Wano, but
yeah.
But yeah, somehow. Here's what I think. I think somehow Komurasaki got onto Onigashima, and that's actually her, and she healed the scabbards when they were taken out by Kaido. And it's either going to be her or Denjiro that takes out Orochi, because those two are the ones that survived together and served under him. And
also they call back at the beginning of the arc where he thought he killed Komurasaki, and Denjiro was the one that slashed her. So it could be like a reverse here thing too.
It could also be some sort of I think it might be her that tries to take him out, because she says, all I want is for us to spend the rest of our lives together. So that could mean like we only have this short time here, and I'm gonna kill you.
So, and that kind of goes back to how she was originally introduced as kind of like a cold-hearted, like cheat, basically. Where like, oh, I love you so much, and then she just screws him over, basically. So this is kind of like reintroducing her that way. So honestly, I hadn't thought about that. We needed her to close the act, and that makes me super excited, potentially, that this act can end next chapter, potentially, with an ending here. And which means this would kind of fulfill Oda talking, I forget where he was saying this at, but what happened to Sabo, what happened to Vivi, and what happened to Cobra, all this stuff. So maybe we'll actually find out what happened to them before the end of the year, which would be cool.
That would be really cool, because there's a I think the next 2 weeks we have straight chapters, and then there's a break, and then there's a chapter, and then there's a break, and then that's the end of the year. It ends on the break.
Yeah.
So
we'll get another intermission chapter, basically.
What if that intermission chapter is like the last one of the year? I think that would be good.
And it could be like an absolute banger, like that other one was when they abolished the warlords and everything. Like that was like one of my favorite episodes. I mean, chapters like in the series, to be honest. I loved it. It was such a big moment. I was still shocked, and we can find out what's happening in the other parts of the world right now, which should give it more stronger indicator what is to come with Wano too. And they could be like, oh, whoa, they're sending like a crazy powerful person to Wano, which builds up even more anticipation for the final 2 acts of Wano, basically.
Didn't maybe I misremembered? Didn't? Oh no, that's what it was. Okay, I had forgotten. So no, Odin's other sword was given to Momonosuke. But he
Yes.
wasn't worthy of wielding it, and it was originally Enma that was bequeathed to Hiyori. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some connection there
Mhm.
with the shamisen playing, like it can sense her. So I don't know
Yeah.
what that means, really, but
Mhm.
um,
Actually,
but
yeah, no, for sure. Actually, sorry, real quick, I wanted to go back to that thought where Apu mentioned Morgans,
mhm.
and that makes me think, or Morgans is flying right now. What if he just starts like chilling over Wano, or like he's mentioning his name because we're gonna see Morgans again soon, basically.
Mhm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
and like the next intermission chapter.
Yeah.
So they're setting the foundation, and we're seeing Komurasaki. So they're kind of setting the foundation for the next split, if you will. And then I guess Act 4, it's just gonna be Queen, King, Sanji, Zoro, Luffy, Kaido, basically, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be Act 4.
And all the Momonosuke stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Act 5 is whatever Act 5 is gonna be.
Act 5 is the Marines take over Wano.
Yes, let's go. We need the theory. We need it now. We need it to come to light. But no, that's cool, man. I think we hit a lot of good stuff with this. Just by talking to you, I definitely learned a lot, and there's a lot of more potential to get me more hyped about next chapter now, which is really great, actually.
Yeah. And I don't think there's any breaks for 2 weeks, so
Good.
we'll
Good.
be feasting on Thanksgiving next week.
Yo, 100%. So, is there anything else you want to leave the audience with?
No, yeah, talking with you, this chapter is definitely more than I thought it was. Better than I thought it was. The panels where Zoro says, "I don't think I can win," made me laugh because of all the Zoro fans who thought that he was gonna just one-shot King.
Yep. Yeah. There was a couple guys who said that. Yeah.
Yeah. But besides that, good chapter.
Oh, definitely. No, I enjoyed it too. More hype for the future. So thank you everybody for watching this episode. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't, if you like what we're doing. And we will probably be doing a couple more videos this next week due to recent events that have been happening with One Piece. So we'll keep you updated on that. But tune in next time. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
See ya.